Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 8, Episode 23, overall 408 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, or give them a call at 519-824-0210. And tell them Chris Palme, a.k.a. CDP, sent you. Or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Live with CDP Sports Talk is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, the home of Southern Talk in sports. I hope everyone's doing well today on this, I can't believe it's already Thursday, June 27th, 2024. It's less than 2 days to my 52nd birthday on Saturday, June 29th. And I will be spending this weekend doing some media coverage of the Buffalo Bisons for CDP Media Production. So I'm looking forward to going down to Salem Field and covering the Bisons for 2 games against the Syracuse Mets, the top farm team of the New York Mets. If you've never gone to a game down at Salem Field, you can get tickets for $21 in American. They did have them at par for a while, but it's a great ballpark. It's right off the 190. You're seeing future major league stars down in Buffalo, New York. So check out the Buffalo Bisons. You can check out their website at bisons.com. I'm waiting for my guest to come on tonight. My guest tonight is Adam Gosse. He is the Toronto Argonauts' longtime public address announcer at BMO Field. This would be Adam's 3rd time on my show tonight. So we're just waiting to get Adam on. Hopefully he's just going to be on in the next minute or two. I'm excited to have him on. Adam does a really great job with the public address announcing at BMO Field and getting the Argo crowd into it. And look forward to talking to him about this year's Argonauts team, who take on the Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes tomorrow night at 7:30 at BMO Field. And there's my guest right now. We're going to bring on the in-stadium voice of the Toronto Argonauts, Adam Gosse. Good evening, Adam. How are you?
Greetings and salutations, Christopher. What's happening, man?
Not much. Oh, by the way, happy belated birthday.
Thank you, pal. Appreciate that.
We have 2 things in common. Our birthdays are 3 days apart, so we're the same. We're both Argonaut fans, lifetime Argonaut fans.
June birthdays for the win.
Absolutely. What jersey do you have on tonight?
This is actually DJ Foster. It is signed. I don't know if I can do a little bit of pirouette. You can see that.
Yes.
But
I remember him. Yes, number 29. Cool. I like the white jerseys. I like them. They're sharp.
yeah, they're crisp. Look, we have the best uniforms in the CFL. You know that. Everybody knows that.
I agree. And my friend in San Diego even thinks the Argos have the best uniforms. He really loves that powder blue look.
I believe you meant to say Cambridge, Chris, but we'll let it slide.
Cambridge.
We'll let it slide.
Cambridge. But I still think the 83 Argonaut uniforms are my favorites.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. The great uniforms. I was on another podcast recently, and I would love to have the brown football back in our logo.
Absolutely. I'm okay with what they've done with it now, but I would like to see that as well. By the way, my co-host of audio show, Nick Small, who's a season ticket holder and an encyclopedia, wants to wish you a happy belated birthday as well.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you.
He's a huge fan of yours and enjoys your work at BMO Field.
Nick has got a heart of gold. He brings a lot of energy and passion to this football team. It's mighty kind of Nick. Thank you, sir.
And I think that's why our show does well, because I'm the older generation of the Argonaut fan, being 52, and he's the younger generation at 27. So we both have our perspectives on the franchise.
You know what? It's I don't get a chance to liaise with a lot of our younger fans, but I'd love to, because everyone has a story. I'd love to ask, hey, what got you started on this Argos journey? Was it a moment? Was it a game? Was it a certain player that you met? The genesis of our sports fandom always starts somewhere, of course. I'd love to know Nick's story as well. That's great. Yeah, young fans all across the board. It's great that they're coming on board, and I'd love to know why they love Argos football so much. It's great to see.
I brought this up with Mike Hogan the other night on our Argos podcast. I said maybe there was only over 10,000 people there, but I'll tell you, they were loud. And I find that the BMO crowd is louder than the Scotiabank Arena crowds.
Well, it's because, and not to belittle our MLSE neighbors, but you've got a lot of people at hockey games who are there because they're guests of somebody. It's a work event. There are people that are literally doing business while they're in the building. An Argo game is simply for people who want to watch Argos football, for the most part. Football fans are also a different breed. They're a lot more primal and emotional, I find. It's funny, I love hockey. Hockey is probably my second favorite sport. But if you spend enough time in an NHL arena, it actually can be very subdued. It can be pretty quiet, unless you're talking about playoffs or like a marquee matchup like Toronto versus Montreal. But we are, as Canadian sports fans by nature, a little bit of a conservative bunch in comparison to our counterparts to the South.
But you know what? I just think the Argonauts, my friends who follow the team now because they're winning, the first thing they talk about is the attendance. I'm like, guys, this is a very good football organization. They do a great job going down there. And it's like, guys, why don't you go down to a game? You'll enjoy it. I tell people this. I love the NFL, but I love the CFL. And for me, I agree with Mike Hogan. It's like a family down there. I go down there and people recognize me and they talk to me, or even strangers. Hey, we like your podcast with Nick, and it's just a great environment. And I just think the team deserves more fans to come down, because they put on a great product under Pinball Clement's time as president, and obviously bringing in John Murphy and Ryan Dinwiddie. This organization has structure and consistency.
Yeah, it is kind of ironic. Torontonians are well known for supporting a winning product. Winning is paramount to most else in the city. And we have a winning product right in front of us. A team with the most championships to their name, a team that's in recent years anyway has won a lot of football games, especially at home. So it kind of defies logic a little bit. This is a city with a mild sense of entitlement, though. This, if you're a fan of sports in the Toronto area, there's a belief that, well, we're a world-class city. We have to have the best of that thing. And a lot of people a lot of football fans don't look at the CFL as the best of that thing. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're football fans. It's just, there's a little bit of an entitlement that exists among our sports fans around here, which is unfortunate, but it's a battle that we continue to fight, and I believe that we're going to win.
Well, like I said, I try to spread the word, and other people do too. And I just love that stadium, by the way. I just love it. It's easy to get to by the GO train, and it's just a great place to watch a game. And I think the best field in the CFL is at BMO Field.
Yeah, if you were going to build, if you had all the money in the world and you were going to build a venue that was specific for the Toronto Argonauts, you wouldn't build something much differently than we have now. You would make it blue, but other than that, you have great sight lines. The capacity is perfect, 27,000 for football. It's open air. It's right by the lake. It's got spectacular views of the city skyline. It's right on a main transit line. There's really a lot to like. And if I was building a stadium, I don't know that I would build something much differently than we have right now.
I grew up at Exhibition Stadium, so that's where I first started loving the Argos in '79, and like I said, they're back where they're home at the CNE, and I just, like I said, I have fond memories of Exhibition Stadium, but BMO Field's a great stadium. By the way, Adam, go ahead.
No, it is, and acoustically, and this might lend a little credit to the noise in there. Acoustically, it's a fantastic venue. It's not hard to get the decibel level cranked up in that building, even with a crowd of 10 to 12,000 fans. Our fans bring a big bag of energy. They're loud and proud, game in, game out. But that venue, to me, seems to be acoustically friendly.
Besides yourself, I think Sean and Alicia do a great job, and I really like the halftime show this past Saturday with the Super Dogs. I think that's great, and if they can maybe do that at more halftime shows this year at BMO Field, I think that's even better for the fans.
Yeah, it's still, sports is still something that you have to factor in for all ages, all demographics. We want to be family friendly. We want to have something for everyone on game day, and I think our halftime shows are emblematic of that, especially something like the Super Dogs. Who doesn't like them? I had an old high school friend of mine down at the game on the weekend. She brought her young son down, who had never been to an Argos game before, and he kept telling her how much he wanted to come back. He was sporting the merchandise. He had the Argo logo on the chain around his neck, and he was cheering away. And that's what matters, right? You give them something to cheer for, a fun environment, lots of energy, the mascot, the host, a halftime show, affordable food and drink. You can't beat it.
Absolutely. And you guys have a new DJ this year, right, Jeff?
DJ Navarro. DJ Navarro
okay,
on the ones and twos.
Okay.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had some top shelf DJs in recent years, and Navarro is right up there. He's new to us, but he's picking it up pretty quickly. And I got to tell you, he loves the boat horn. Big fan of the boat horn. So we connect a lot on second and long situations. So we have a lot of fun up there.
Love that, and I love that fight song. I talked to Mike Hogan about it. I guess it was from 1968, and then I don't know when it got shelved in the 70s. Somebody found it a couple years ago, and I think it's great that it's played after every touchdown.
Oh, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's a little bit of beautiful nostalgia. Who doesn't love to row the boat? It's fantastic. I mean, we've scored a lot. The football team has scored a lot of touchdowns at home in the past few seasons. So thankfully we get to hear that song a lot. Hopefully we hear it a lot tomorrow. Yeah, field goals and touchdowns. It's great to hear.
Unfortunately, I won't be at the game tomorrow. I'm going to be in Buffalo doing some media coverage for the Bisons, but I will be back July 27th against Winnipeg, and maybe I'll pop in at Hamilton as well. Hey, can I ask you this, Adam? I know at BMO Field, I've worked up there as media a few times. Is that that area where you work? Is that the normal area where the PA announcer works for the FC too?
No, it is not.
Okay.
I know people always ask. It's a great question, Chris. So for those who don't know, who are hearing this for the first time, by choice, I announce Argo games from what's called the Sky Deck. There's an outdoor landing, if you will, a covered landing on each side of the press box on the north and south side. I sit on the north side of the press box where I can where I'm amidst the elements, among the elements, if you will. But more importantly, I like to be able to hear the crowd kind of ebb and flow through the game. It helps me connect with them better, so I know what works when I'm making a call, what doesn't, when I feel they need a little bit of a push if we're on defense, or things like that. The announcer's booth in the press box is quite small, and it's just a little bit cumbersome, especially when you've got myself and my spotter TJ. So this happened by coincidence. When the Montreal Alouettes come to town, they bring 2 radio crews, and there's only so much press box booth space, so somebody has to literally kind of do their business from or work the game from the sky deck. I was asked on one summer day if I wanted to go outside and announce when the Alouettes were in town. I said absolutely, and I really have never looked back. This was in 2019, so it's great. I wouldn't change it for a thing. Rain, snow, heat, bring it.
And you came back to the Argos in 2019 when Don Landry stepped down?
That's correct. 2019. Yeah.
I guess you also did it at the Skydome, the Rogers Center. There's no comparison between doing that at that stadium to this stadium.
No, there are 2 wildly different venues. The Dome is huge. I will say, when you do get a sizable crowd in the Dome, it's a lot of fun because the sound just bounces all over that place. You can get quite loud. The 2012, Grey Cup, the 100th Grey Cup showed us that it was loud from start to finish in there, filled with Argo fans. But yeah, the venue's different. It's obviously a little bit cavernous. It's concrete. You've got a turf field. You've got quite often a closed roof. You're a lot farther from the playing surface. The lower bowl seats are very shallow. So, row 20 in the Dome is far different than row 20 at BMO. Both have their charm, of course. If you're someone that doesn't like the elements, if you like a lot more amenities, maybe food choices, drink choices, the Dome will give you that. But I think our crowd has adapted to BMO just fine.
Hey, Adam, I wanted to ask you this as well. Can you just tell my audience a little bit how important a spotter is for a PA announcer?
I sure can. Yeah. So when I'm calling the game, I have a headset on and I'm wired to the game day producer. And that game day producer is like the conductor in an orchestra. They're calling
the quarterback.
They control what happens in all matter of game day functions. They look after cues for the host, Sean and Alicia, when it's time for the DJ to spin, when we're cutting to commercials and coming back, things like that. So I'm really busy. I'm involved with a lot of chatter while I'm calling a game, even when I'm calling the actual football game. So an extra set of eyes, which is my spotter TJ, is just paramount to calling a good professional football game. This person's sole job is to watch the game, help the announcer with ball carrier, tackler, down and distance, things like that. Keep an eye on when there's key personnel changes, if a quarterback is coming in and out. So yeah, very valuable position. I wouldn't be able to get all the calls right without a spotter. He's got eyes like a hawk. Calling a football game in general is very difficult because what a very casual sports fan or football fan might think is a tackle really isn't when you break down the nuances of how the tackle is made. It's not necessarily the last person who comes off the ball carrier. It's the first person who made contact and tripped the player up and the player's motion took him down, things like that. So we got to get that right. And that a lot of that falls on the shoulders of the spotter.
I think this as well, since it's tomorrow night. Thoughts on Ricky Ray, Bob Obilovich, Lou Heyman, and Pete Martin. I never got to see the great Pete Martin play as a linebacker. I believe he was 65 to 72. But growing up in Oakville in the late 70s, the games were blacked out because of that ridiculous CFL rule. I had to listen to a lot of Argo games on CFRB 1010 with Bob Bertina, the former mayor of Hamilton, and Pete Martin. And I grew up becoming an Argos fan due to Bob and Pete and their broadcasts.
Yeah, Pete was on the radio waves for a long time. What a great job he did. It's so great to see legends stay close to the football team long after they've hung up the cleats. I will say this: I'm excited about tomorrow, and I think good on the Argonauts, good on us for opening up a new category, a builder category, because there are so many great people behind the construction of the history of this football team. So many people behind great moments and great players, great dynasties, and I think it's only fair that we honor them. So it'll be really exciting to see them get honored tomorrow. And I mean, what else can you say about Ricky Ray that hasn't been said already? He is the greatest quarterback that ever played for the Double Blue. He's a heck of a leader, a quiet leader, but he was strictly business. He meant so much to this football team when he was here. You were never out of a game when Ricky Ray was at the helm, and it's only fair that he gets honored tomorrow too.
It's just a shame that his last game with the Argonauts ended up in a serious injury, but like I said, he had a great career in the CFL, 4-time Grey Cup champion. And what I liked about him is even when his teams were trailing, he never panicked, and the guys followed their lead of their quarterback, and he was a true leader.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, cool as the other side of the pillow. He was just unflappable. We're seeing a little bit of that unflappableness from a certain number 11, Cameron Dukes. It is way too early in Dukes' career to make a comparison like that. I can do it. I'll get away with it. But I think that's a key characteristic in a quarterback that usually means success. If you're someone that doesn't get easily rattled, you've got a heck of a shot at being great.
And with Cameron Dukes, his development, like I've interviewed him, he's confident, but he's not cocky. And his teammates, I've seen it in the locker room, they all believe in him. And that is huge. Not just the talent aspect, but you need to get all the guys to believe in your leadership that you can get the job done as a quarterback.
Well, there's really two points to that, right? One is, do you believe in yourself? And a lot of people, it's a lot easier to believe in somebody when you know they believe in themselves. And it starts with Cam. Cam believes in everything he does. When he sets foot on the football field, he believes in greatness. He believes he believes he can lead the team to victory and perform well. So, I mean, the second thing is how you do it, right? Some of the greatest leaders in sports just do by example. Just watch me play. I'm a Buffalo Sabres fan, and some of the best moments in my childhood watching the Sabres were when Chris Drury was one of our captains, and Chris Drury never said a word in the locker room, but he just went out and he did all the heavy lifting. He did all the hard things well, and that was enough for players to want to run through or skate through a wall for him.
Absolutely. Hey, before we get to some other questions, obviously Bob Obilovich, he helped turn the team around in '82 and took the team to 3 Grey Cups. I think they should have won. I think they could have won all 3 of them. I ended up watching the '82 Grey Cup game the other day, and they were actually in that game for most of it. And then at the end of the game, the weather came, and Edmonton, credit to the Eskimos, they were great, but Bob Obilovich, 3 Grey Cups in Toronto. He only won 1, but to me, he was one of the reasons that helped restore this organization, along with Holloway. And I want to mention another guy too, and I'm hoping he gets in the all-time Argos builder one day. Ralph Sazio, who they got from Hamilton in 1981.
Sure, good point. Ralph definitely deserves that honor too. To pick up your point about Bobby O. He'll be forever known for 2 things. One, breaking the drought and finally bringing glory back to the city of Toronto. And 2, bestowing one of the greatest nicknames in sports onto Michael Pinball Clemens.
Clemens, 1989.
And what a treat! What a great way to cement your legacy. I've all the time in the world for Bob Obilovich, and it's gonna be great to see him tomorrow.
I really wish I could be at this game, but I'm going to make sure I tape it, and hopefully TSN will have the halftime ceremonies on TSN. Hopefully they will do that.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We'll see.
Absolutely. Hey, Adam, wanted to get quick thoughts on the Argos win over the Edmonton Argos, or sorry, the Edmonton Elks. I keep calling them the Edmonton Argos, but that was an exciting game, and it was a good comeback win too.
Well, hey, they say imitation is the highest form of flattery, and I think the Elks are halfway there. Although they can keep their hands off the rest of our players. Thank you very much. Um, it was a great game. That Elks team, I think we can all agree, is not last year's team. They have taken a huge step
No,
forward, and it was really refreshing to see a lot of the players to step up for them on the weekend were former Argonauts. It just speaks to how much talent our football operations team has unearthed the past few years. But back to Edmonton, great to see. It's we need healthy markets all across the league. You want to see them have some success. You want to see them get some fans back in Commonwealth. McLeod Bethel Thompson had arguably the game of his life. You just saw it in his eyes. He wanted to beat us so bad, and I can't blame him. I would too. So whoever was just a casual football fan, let alone an Elks or an Argos fan, you're a casual football fan watching that game. You got an absolute treat.
it was back and forth. And what I love about the CFL is it's never over till it's over. I don't care how big a team has a league, a lead in a game. Anybody can come back, and it's not like 2 minutes left. Okay, nail down, and that's it. It goes right down to the final second. And hey, and I want to say this to you, Adam. Back in the off season, I do the media work, but I'm a season ticket holder, and I have to admit when they lost a lot of players to free agency, I was a little upset and concerned about this year, and I admit I was wrong. It looks like the Argonauts and their management team have been able to plug in the replaces because they lost a lot of great players. But I understand too, both media and the fan, it is a business, and this team looks like they're going to have another very good season.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can point to. There's an old saying: "Attitude reflects leadership." And we still have the same leaders in place. We have Mike Pinball Clemens as our GM. We have Ryan Dinwiddie as our head coach. Um, those are men who know how to win, and they know how to build winning football teams. I will also say that the goal isn't to win the Grey Cup in week 4 or 3, whatever it is, 4. The goal is to win the Grey Cup in November. So the team mantra, like last year, is 1-0. They're looking to go 1-0 this week, and it's a mindset that you can't just say out loud. You really have to believe it. You can't look past tomorrow's football game, and I think the players on this team truly take it 1 week at a time. Like Cameron Dukes, they don't get rattled. They don't stress about what's around the corner. They live in the here and now. So they're hyper focused on, beating the Montreal Alouettes tomorrow night.
I'm going to put you on the spot here. It's only been 2 games, couple weeks, but as a fan of the team and obviously the PA announcer as well, the strengths of this team, do you think it is in the offensive line and the defensive lines right now?
Yeah, that's my quick answer. We're going to see, there's a lot of football left. This team is going to morph and grow as we steam towards the November. But yeah, by and large, football games are won in the trenches. I think the opening game against BC showed us a lot of that. Our offensive line kept Cameron Dukes upright, kept his jersey clean, and they blew open holes for Kadeem Carey. On the other side of the ball, we know how much of a nightmare our defensive line was for Vernon Adams Jr. If you don't have a sound offensive or defensive line, you're going to have problems, which really speaks to how well McLeod played last week. I've heard some comments about how we didn't have much of a pass rush last week. Well, if you paid attention, we did. It's just that McLeod was somehow able to pull a rabbit out of his hat and get rid of the football within half a steamboat every time the ball was snapped. So our defensive line is nasty. Our offensive line is nasty. If you heard Dinwiddie talk this week about either at the end of last week or this week at practice, I can't remember what it was, but he talked about basically rewarding an offensive line. offensive linemen, full stop, want to run block. If you're an offensive line, when that ball is snapped, you want to go forward and you want to attack instead of backpedal and defend. So when you have a strong running game, you're basically rewarding your offensive line by run blocking and driving forward and taking the control stance every time rather than taking your back pedal. So Dinwiddie loves to run the football, and it shows in our linemen. They don't have to worry about backpedaling for 80% of the game. It's a really healthy mix of run and pass, and I don't see why that would change. That's really the bread and butter of this offense.
And being a Philadelphia Eagles fan, to me, I'm old school. I know a lot of the younger generation fans only believe in passing, but you need a balanced attack to protect your quarterback, and also teams can tee up on you. And I think with the Argonauts, and this is going to be a huge matchup with the Alouettes. I believe the Argos are number 1 in rushing right now, and the Alouettes are number 2. I think it's going to come down to which team can run the ball more effectively. That might be the difference in this game tomorrow night.
Absolutely. This is a great early season test. Regardless of what the outcome of tomorrow's game is, we're going to learn a little bit. We're not going to learn everything, but we're going to learn a little bit about what each team is made of, how they respond. There might be talk of redemption or vengeance after the Eastern Final last year, but these are still professional football players, and regardless of who it is tomorrow, they want to win. Obviously, it's the champs always seem to have a target on their backs, and the Alouettes are no different. Everybody wants to beat the champs. So there's going to be a little bit of a buzz tomorrow, I'm sure. But they're a division opponent, and we're going to see them again.
What's your thoughts on Kadeem Carey? Did you realize how good he was when they got him from Calgary?
I don't think I realized how fast he was, and perhaps how strong he is. One of the key things about being a running back in the CFL is you had better be a good run blocker. You have to, or a pass blocker. You have to be able to block, and Kadeem has shown so far that he can do that. He's for the most part a shifty runner. He's not necessarily a scat back or a north-south. He's kind of an in between. Very strong, very fast, and so far he's durable. He's taken some licks, but he's such a fun running back, and I also love his personality. So no, I don't know that I expected him to be as dynamic a player as he's shown so early in the season. And lucky us.
Last year was kind of a power attack with Andrew Harris and AJ Ouellette, and now this year all 3 running backs are quick. They're fast, and they can also pass protect as well.
Yeah, I think each running back gives you something a little bit differently. And Kadeem actually, I believe, spoke about this post game in the locker room last week. Deontay McMahon is a true scat back. He's a water bug. He can make moves in a phone booth. He's very fast. Obviously, not the biggest, not the strongest running back. He's also got great hands. Kadeem Carey is your mostly every down back. He's going to carry the mail for you. He's durable. He's shifty, but he's also very strong. And Dan Adeboboye is more of a power back, a north-south runner who's got great balance and strength. He might drag a ball carrier for 5-6 yards after contact, which is probably why he's so far. We've seen him play in the third quarter. Defenses are starting to get winded. You're starting to get, the helmets start drop, the shoulders start drop, the breaths get deeper. You insert a guy like Dan Adeboboye to really soften that defense up. How fortunate are we to have 3 effective weapons in the backfield?
Absolutely. Adam, are you okay for a few more minutes? A couple more questions?
Absolutely.
Okay. I gotta bring this one up. Any concerns with the defense heading into Friday's matchup with the Montreal Alouettes?
Yeah, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, we're all going to take at least keep one eye on the secondary. We have some new faces on the corners. Benji Franklin and Leonard Johnson have had, some struggles the first couple weeks. But they're both, unless I missed something, they're both playing tomorrow night. They're both starting. Coach obviously wants to give them some rope. There are some veterans in there too that are going to carry some of the load. But I think really it goes back to our defensive line. It starts and ends with them. One of the reasons why we had so many turnovers last year is because they were caused by the disruptions up front. Anytime you have a lot of pressure and a quarterback on his heels, you're going to see balls that are thrown off the back foot. You're going to see misfires and desperation passes, and that's where a secondary eats, whether they're rookies or vets. And if we have a strong you look at the Montreal Alouettes, and their formula is the same. Do they have superstars in the secondary? Yeah, I mean Marc-Antoine Dequoy is obviously is a star, but top to bottom, they're a good defense, and it starts with the front seven or front eight. Those guys make all the noise, they create all the chaos. Sean Lemon, Darnell Sankey, and it forces quarterbacks into a panic. The ball's in the air and it's intercepted, and that's what you want. You want to create turnovers. So I think I see a lot of similarities in both of our defenses in that regard.
Thoughts on quarterback Cody Fajardo, who started his career with the Argonauts? Did you see him years ago becoming this kind of a quarterback?
No, those things they're hard to read because Cody really didn't get a lot of reps in terms of passing. Obviously, he was our short yardage quarterback and ran that offense very effectively, but we didn't see him throw the ball a lot. So it was really hard to get a read on what type of quarterback he was going to be. That answer really wasn't given to us in Saskatchewan either. He struggled in Saskatchewan, didn't have the best offensive line in front of him, and he had some injury problems. But I think we're finally seeing the quarterback that he is in Montreal, and that is a very mobile quarterback, a very smart quarterback who has a stronger arm than most of us give him credit for. And he's got a great disposition, like all the quarterbacks we talked about tonight. He keeps very calm. He doesn't seem to get rattled, and you're never quite out of a game. The Argos went 3-0 against the Alouettes last year during the regular season, but those were 3 fairly tightly contested games because that Fajardo and that Montreal offense just never went away. So I think we got to give Cody his flowers. He's really rounding into form, and what a moment to have. I think the greatest game of his career was in the Grey Cup last year. What a time to have your best game. So yeah, he's fun to watch. He's going to be a problem for us tomorrow night.
Hope I didn't lose you, Adam. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, guys. I apologize. I think it's just a Wi-Fi connectivity. Just 1 second. We're going to try to get Adam back on. It's a part of the technology, guys. Just bear with me. I'm hoping to have back on. Adam, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I apologize.
I didn't know that I left.
Yeah. No, technology. I had my Ethernet cable in, but just a glitch or whatever. But hey, I wanted to ask you this too, Adam. Look at the quarterbacks the Toronto Argonauts have helped develop in the last 14 years around the league.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I spoke about that recently with the Elks call, and it really is a nice tribute to our coaches, our football ops staff, our scouts. When you see quarterbacks across the CFL thrive, that started their journey with the Toronto Argonauts. Cody Fajardo, Trevor Harris, Zach Collaros, McLeod Bethel Thompson. They're for the most part, their journeys began in this city, and they're having success across the league. It's pretty cool to see. I hope that trend ends pretty soon because I'd like to keep our quarterbacks a little longer. But you can't stop progress. You can't prevent players from wanting more, wanting different. But it does make you feel pretty good when you see not just quarterbacks really, but I mean a lot of your high caliber players have success. It tells you that our pipeline is strong.
Absolutely. And one thing about Cam Dukes, he's off to a great start. I want to see how he does on the road because it's at home. It's a little bit. I'm not saying easier, but it's going to be a little harder having 3 straight games on the road. So we'll see how he does on those road games as well.
Yeah, I will point to 2 games last year, though, I will counterpoint you with 2 games last year. First, on the road in Winnipeg, where he left in the fourth quarter and the team had a lead, in one of the nastiest environments in the CFL, in Princess Auto Stadium at the time, wherever it was called. Loud environment, and I believe the biggest crowd that Cameron Dukes had ever played in front of in professional football. Obviously Lindsey Wilson College does not have the capacity of most of our CFL venues. So for him to go in there and not let any of that bother him showed me a lot. And then to go on the road in Saskatchewan and close out, not close out, but near the end of the regular season and the Riders season, in comeback fashion, the way they did was a great test too. So Dukes has been on the road. He hasn't been on the road as a starter yet with this team, but I'm confident that you're going to see very little change in his performance.
What are some keys to an Argo win over Montreal on Friday night? And one of them, I think, is going to be playing a clean football game, because anytime you turn the football over to the other team and give them a short field, like what happened last year's East Final, will spell doom. So I think playing a clean game is going to be key. I think establishing the run is going to be important, trying to contain Montreal's running game. And I think tomorrow night's game is going to come down to a special teams play again at the end of the game.
You summed it up perfectly. I would have agreed with everything you just said. 100%. You've got to play a disciplined game. You can't turn the ball over. You got to keep your quarterback's jersey clean, and you got to run the football. They're going to put a lot of pressure on Cameron Dukes. I have faith in our offensive line. They're a very tough team to run the football against, and they cause turnovers. They're also very well coached, and there's always a play or two every game that you didn't see coming. So I expect to see some surprises from Jason Moss. But yeah, special teams could definitely make a difference tomorrow. Could we see Janarian Grant finally take one to the house? And wouldn't that make a difference? So yeah, great questions. I agree with most of your assessment. It's 2 very evenly matched football teams, and it should be a great game.
You have an X factor for the Argos tomorrow night?
I don't think so. I think the X factor is that, at least in the early going, we're no longer the hunted. We're the hunter. We're gonna see what that Alouettes team looks like when they're the ones with the target on their back.
It's a lot different when you're the champion than being the contender. And I really think Jason Moss will have them focused. I wouldn't be shocked at him if this game went to overtime. And I think I'm going to pick the Argos 27-24. I think it's going to be a nail biter. And I think it's going to come down to a last minute play again.
Well, if you're right, it's going to be one heck of a game. So fingers crossed. Let's go 1-0.
And finally, Adam, just quickly, thoughts on week 4 games around the league. Edmonton and BC tonight at 10 o'clock. Then we got Winnipeg and Calgary Saturday on my birthday. And then Hamilton at Ottawa Sunday, which to me is a must-win for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. You don't want to go 0-4 to start the season. I honestly can't remember who I had picked this weekend. I'm going to grab my picks here, and we'll walk through them real quick. Starting with tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I picked the Lions at home. As much as I saw some great things from the Elks last week, BC's too strong a team, especially when they're playing at home. I believe we're going to win tomorrow as well. I know it's going to be tight, but I know we're going to come through. I picked Winnipeg to take down the Stamps in Calgary. I also think the Bombers will finally put it together. Sorry, Cats fans, but I've got the Red Blacks winning on Sunday night at Ottawa, TD Place.
Yeah, I've got BC, Toronto, Winnipeg, and I got to go with Hamilton. I think Bolívar Mitchell is going to have a good game, but we'll see what. But you know what? In the CFL, you just never know. There's no gimme games in this league anymore.
No, this is it. It's the best, right? And it's fantastic to see a game every night. I really like what's happening with the Sunday night games. Most people are home on their couch on a Sunday evening, so we get to see a great game. It's great. It's fun. I love it. This is the best time of year.
Absolutely. Hey, and all the time you've been a public address announcer, Adam, I had to ask you this. I didn't do this the last time you had you on my show, but in your career as an Argos public address announcer, which player or players' names were the most difficult to pronounce or trickiest?
I couldn't give you one or two, but what I can tell you that it might surprise you to find out which ones are the trickiest. And I'll give you an example that exists right there on our own roster.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
We have two names that are spelt identical that are pronounced differently. We have a last name of Dejon. And one of the players pronounces the name as Dejan, and the other player pronounces as Dejan. So sometimes it's not a long name with vowels or consonants like an Adebaboye, but sometimes it's picking a name that you think sounds very simple, and when in fact it does not. One thing before every game is I make a point of collaborating with Mike Hogan, of course, our radio play-by-play voice, and together we try to connect with the media director or the communications manager for the visiting team to review all the visiting player pronunciations. Out of respect for every team in this league, we want to get their names right. So we get that cleared up before every football game. And there's always surprises. You look at a name and you think it's spelt one or pronounced one way, and it's completely backwards. So that's really what something I didn't expect when I first started this announcing story years ago.
I know when I had Mike Ross on my show, the PA guy for the Leafs, he told me that all the public address announcers in the NHL, they have a website, and each one makes announcements for those players. And then when you go to that city, you go on the website or whatever. But I guess with you, your best bet is with Mike Hogan, or talk to some of the guys on the field then as well.
Yeah. I mean, look, whenever possible, you get it right from the player, right? But I will say this: players are very sometimes polite or just indifferent. They really don't bother to tell you what they prefer in terms of pronunciation. We for the better part of a year, we called AJ Ouellette, AJ Wallet or Ouellette, due to the perceived francophone pronunciation. It was only when a family member of his reached out to us kindly and said, "Hey, by the way, it's Ouellette," that we were stunned, because we were referring to AJ as Ouellette or Ouellette, and he himself didn't correct us. So players are funny that way. It took a few years for Royce Metier to change the pronunciation of his name to the authentic way. So it's hard. They're a funny bunch sometimes.
And also, Adam, what's a game day like for Argos PA announcer for yourself? What time do you get down to the BMO field for?
Typically, I want to be down there no more or no less, than 3.5 hours before. This allows me to run through my script from front to back, make sure I've got all of my reads correctly. I say them out loud. I say them in my head. I take a neon marker and I make sure I've got all the key points in each script read. I make sure if there's a dignitary or someone who has a name that I'm not sure how to pronounce, I'll make sure I get the the correct pronunciations from our game day staff. I make sure I got my station set up on my table. I've got my roster sheets taped on the table where I want them. My microphone check I go through. My comms check I go through. I've got my beverages ready. I always try to stay hydrated while I'm talking. And then of course I'll meet with Mike. We'll go through the pronunciations of the visiting team. I'll make sure that my spotter Terrence has all that information, that he's up to date. And then I'll take a quick walk around of the parking lot into the tailgate area. I'll connect with Argo fans, friends of mine, new fans, veteran fans, just to just see what's going on the tailgate, see all the fun they're having down there, barbecuing, having a great time. It's really cool to see that kind of grow slowly, methodically, properly. It's a great way to enjoy the Argos game day experience, and I always like to go down there and just kind of give a little thanks and see the fans and say thanks for being an Argo fan, thanks for coming down to a game.
It's a people environment. That's what I love about the CFL and especially the Argonauts. It's a fan friendly league, and it's just great to be there. Hey, gotta ask you this: you've been to probably all the stadiums in the CFL besides BMO Field. Is there a stadium that would you rank right behind BMO Field in terms of being a fan or a PA announcer?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I will say, the PA voices in this league are fantastic. They're all pretty great humans, as well as great announcers. I don't know if I would put one above the rest. I take a little bit from all of them. I look at Mike Neighbors in Hamilton. He's got such a pun intended perhaps, but he's got such a roar, like a growl, a really good energy. You've got somebody like Bob McGregor in Winnipeg. He's got a real good deep bog to his voice, and his first down calls are fantastic. A little bit different than what we do in Toronto, but equally as good. Very professional approach. He can really enunciate very clearly. They're all great. Corey Graham in Edmonton and Daryl Brace in Saskatchewan. Very polished radio people with wonderful syrupy voices. So from a PA side of things, I don't really have a favorite. It's great to kind of listen to them all. I love going to Montreal for an environment. I love seeing the city behind you. It's an old rickety building, but you're really tight. The sight lines are great everywhere. I don't need a lot of flash and dash when I go to a sporting event, so there's that. Some might disagree. I love going to Edmonton because the fans are so fantastic, very warm and welcoming, and they've got a robust tailgate as well. McMahon gets a bad name, but I love going to McMahon Stadium too. I used to love going to the old Canadian Stadium in Winnipeg, another rickety old building, but that place used to shake when it was full. It's hard to find that anymore. Yeah, it's really cool to see so many different venues, and then you've got the two new buildings in Winnipeg and Regina, just wonderful, big, bright, clean, loud, with modern amenities, great sight lines. I don't know if I could pick one or the other. They're both equally great buildings, and deservedly so. Those fan bases are so big and passionate. Good for them. There's something different everywhere you go.
Absolutely. And I need to get to Ottawa. I've only been to a couple stadiums, so I need to start traveling around Canada more and going to more football stadiums. Hey, Adam, what is the fun fact about Adam Gosse that the Argo fans might not know about you?
Before I get to that, sorry, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my boy Mike Sutherland, who's the PA guy in Ottawa. He's absolutely a monster, so shout out Mike. And don't sleep on TD Place Stadium in Ottawa. Great building to watch a football game in. Another place where you can see the city right behind you. A lot of great bars and restaurants out front of the stadium you can have a good time at pre and post. So props to the Red Blacks. Fun facts about me, you're asking.
Yep.
Well, I'll give you something you probably wouldn't expect. For a very brief point in time, I was in the Guinness Book of World Records. Years ago, Habitat for Humanity held an event in Whitby in an effort to build the world's largest picnic table. So we built the picnic table, and when the picnic table was dismantled, the wood was going to be used to build homes for those in need. And Whitby did beat the record. This would have been around 2014, 2015. The record was promptly broken, I think, only 3 or 4 months later by a European country. It would have been the Netherlands or Italy. But it was really cool to be a part of, and to see a picnic table, like what seemingly was like half a kilometer long. So a lot of fun.
And finally, where can my audience follow you on social media? And what's the best place to get tickets for this game tomorrow night at BMO Field? 7:30 kickoff, right?
Tickets is first, argonauts.ca/tickets. It should be a real barn burner tomorrow. So hope to see you down there. As to where they can find me, at Adam Gosse, Adam Gosse on X, formerly known as Twitter.
All right. Hey, Adam, I want to say thank you for giving me almost an hour of your time. It's been a while since I've had you on my show, and maybe this season we'll have you on the Argo Bounce Live audio show with Nick Small as well.
Will be a pleasure, brother. Thanks for having me on. Have a great season, and go Argos.
And we'll see you in July at BMO Field on July 27th against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, Adam, and we'll talk to you soon. As always, go Argos.
Go Argos. Have a good night, Chris. See ya.
You too. Thanks, Adam. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed Season 8, Episode 23, tonight with Adam Gosse, the public address announcer for the Canadian Football League's Toronto Argonauts at BMO Field. And just a reminder, the Argonauts are in action tomorrow night, Friday nights, June 28th, 7:30 kickoff at BMO Field against the defending Grey Cup champion Montreal Alouettes in a rematch of last year's East final in Toronto, which the Alouettes won, unfortunately. But these are the two best teams, I think, in the CFL right now. Montreal's coming in 3-0, and the Argonauts are 2-0. And this is a big game as well for the Argos, because the first 3 games in July are on the road. They're in Saskatchewan, and then they have another road game, and then Hamilton. I'm trying to think. I think it's Saskatchewan, and then they go somewhere else, and then I believe they're in Hamilton on July 20th. Nick, if you're still watching, who is that second of the 3 road games against? I know, like I said, the first one is at Saskatchewan on July 4th. Then they have another road game, and then one in Hamilton on July 20th before returning home to BMO Field on Saturday, July 27th at BMO Field against Winnipeg. If you've never been to a game there, please consider going. And if you don't know much about the CFL, check out the website, CFL.ca, or go on to the Argos website, argonauts.ca. It's a lot of fun. It's affordable entertainment, and it's a family type environment down in Toronto. And even if you're strangers, people come up to you and they talk to you, and it's just a lot of fun. And Adam and Sean, Alicia, everybody that does the in-game crew presentation there does a great job. And also, guys, if you can't get down to the game tomorrow night, you can watch it on TSN, who does a great job with the TV coverage of the CFL. Or you can listen to it on the radio, TSN 1050. I believe 7 o'clock pregame with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. And Mike and Ben do a great job as well. And finally, guys, the old-time Argos, obviously Ricky Ray is going to be the 27th member, going to be into the old-time Argos list tomorrow night. And also Bob Obilovich, Pete Martin, and Lou Heyman, the Argo great coach, are going to be in as builders. So it's going to be a great night there. I would like to see, unfortunately, I won't be at the game tomorrow night, but I would love to see at least 20,000 people tomorrow night there as well. So again, And I think the Argos have one of the best public address announcers out there too, Adam Gosse. I think he does a great job engaging the crowd and the fans as well. By the way, guys, before we wrap this up, the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, Friday, June 28th at 6 p.m. Eastern with Scott Crawford, the Director of Operations at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. I was down there a couple of weeks ago. It's a beautiful Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario, southwestern Ontario. It's about 45 minutes from Guelph, and they just had their class of 2024, and I covered it as well. So Scott's going to come on and talk a little about the class of 2024 and the latest happenings going forward with the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. They're located at 386 Church Street South in St. Mary's, Ontario. Check out their website, baseballhalloffame.ca. That's baseballhalloffame.ca. So I'm excited to have Scott Crawford on tomorrow at 6 p.m., just before the Blue Jays-Yankees game starts at 7 o'clock. And they are doing a watch party at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame as well. Before we wrap this show up, guys, I was there a couple weeks ago for the introductees of all the ceremonies, and I ended up interviewing Buck Martinez and Rod Hisler. But Russell Martin, the former Blue Jay, Pirate, Yankee catcher, was introduced into the Hall of Fame. And here's a little bit of his speech from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's from a couple weeks ago.
People here are just wonderful. And I'm just really grateful. And what an honor. Hall of Fame, it's incredible. I'm going to do it a little differently. Yeah, I'll start out by thanking my parents. And I'm going to try to hold it together. We're here for you. Yeah. No part of baseball, they say. It's supposed to be 5 minutes, so I'm just trying to kill time here. My mom, Suzanne, she's over here. Rod talked about winning the lottery, and I couldn't agree more with what he said.
Come on, buddy, you can do it.
11 postseason seems pretty easy compared to this. This is truly, lucky to have, incredible mom. She's a rock. She's a driving force behind her. Okay. She's a driving force behind her motivation. And that's the key. That's the key. In anything you want to accomplish, you have to be motivated, and it has to come from it has to come from your heart. And my mom, she wasn't there to support me and love me like she did. I wouldn't be standing here. And I talk often about my dad, and make sure that I took the time to tell her how much I love her, and I'm thankful for everything that she's done for me throughout my life. So. There we go. he's so well. He's still kicking. He couldn't make it. It's a little complicated. He's good. Everything's good. My kids are definitely not used to seeing that. It's so hard. But my dad is. Special human being. Like Rod said, he made his money playing saxophone in the Metro.
Picture everybody in your underwear.
He spent most of his time just on the field, being in the Metro in the mornings, making enough money to. All right, here you go. He's a wonderful man. For those that know, they can attest to that. Just a strong, powerful. Taught me everything I need to know when it comes to determination, art, all the tools that you need to have success. And just I'm definitely sharing this honor, with everybody that's played a part of it, and in the journey that this baseball life has been. It's been amazing. So many memories, so many wonderful people I've met, so many connections I have been made, and those connections will last a lifetime. So my dad was the kind of person that would just, thinks outside the box. He would keep the game fun, and he would spend hours every single day, throughout the whole summer, inventing games, kept the game fun. The way that the game is, it is a game, and you get to higher levels and it gets more serious. But at the end of the day, it's made to play with passion and have fun, and for people to enjoy. And he definitely, helped, instill all those good things in me. And I definitely would not be, where I am today without my parents. So I probably should have switched it up, and I thought it was going to be interesting to go first with the parents, but I probably should have.
Okay, guys, that was part of Russell Martin's speech into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2024. He was very emotional and appreciative of what his family, his mom and dad, did for him as well. So Russell Martin, Jimmy Key, Rod Hessler, Howard Burney, Ashley Stevenson, and Paul Goffrey were the class of 2024 at the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's, Ontario. And Buck Martinez was the winner of the 2023 Jack Graney Award for his contributions to the game of baseball here in the country of Canada as well. And please check out all my interviews and speeches on my YouTube channel. Type in Chris Palme or Live with CDP Sports Talk, and all my Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame interviews and content is on there as well. So I remember Scott Crawford, Director of Operations, is coming on here tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Eastern as well. For those who are looking for a forever friend or a pet, check out the Cambridge and District Humane Society at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge, Ontario, 519-623-7722, or visit their website at cambridgehumanesociety.org. Dogs like Apollo, Alpine, Solo, are looking for their forever homes as well, and their profiles and information are on cambridgehumanesociety.org. And also they're doing a 50-50 monthly raffle through their website as well. And the money from the ticket sales goes to the programs at the Cambridge District Humane Society. And you can also get a ticket at 1650 Dunbar Road in Cambridge. So please check out their 50-50 monthly draw for the Cambridge Humane Society. And also, again, if you're looking for a dog, a cat, a rabbit, check out their website, and all their profiles and information are on there as well. And I am been volunteering with them since February, and I love coming down there once or twice a week to walk dogs as well. As always, Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is hosted by yours truly, Chris Pame, is on weeknights from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern on radio station WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk, the heartbeat of Atlanta. Our radio station's website is wqeefm.radio12345.com. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show is live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, and now available on Instagram. Follow me there at Chris Pame, and you can watch the show there as well. And also, guys, I am on Cameo. I joined the Cameo family a couple months ago. If you want a personalized video message from yours truly, book me now, cameo.com, and then type in Chris Pame, and all proceeds from the Cameo videos will go to my radio and media work as well. Speaking of websites, you guys can check out my website, beacons.ai/Chris D. Pame. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, again, is sponsored and brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out barrycullen.com for the newest selection of pre-owned and new GM vehicles, or call them at 519-824-0210. Or email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet has been in Guelph since 1969. Family run and operated as well. Great customer service. Highly recommend Barry Cullen Chevrolet. My last 3 cars have come from Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership. Also, guys, Live with CDP merchandise is coming this summer. Stay tuned for more details on my merchandise. You can also follow this content creator on TikTok at Live with CDP. That's at Live with CDP on TikTok. And I want to say thank you to my 2,262 followers there as well. StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. If you're into webinars or podcasting, check out StreamYard. StreamYard.com. They have basic free plans, or they have paid professional plans such as myself. And if you're a business that does a lot of live streaming or webinars, check out StreamYard.com and contact the sales department. And I've been with StreamYard just under 4 years right now. Great customer service, and to me, it's one of the best live streaming services out there. Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. The audio version is available on iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Castbox, LinkedIn, Pandora, TuneIn, and now on YouTube Music. So look for Live with CDP Sports Talk on YouTube Music and hit that subscribe notification. Finally, you guys can email or text Live with CDP Sports Talk at cpame19@gmail.com, or text the show at 519-820-7188. Any comments, questions, suggestions, feedback, positive, negative, would be greatly appreciated as well. And I do have a comment here. Robbie Schneider. Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. Great show today. Thank you, Robbie. And Robbie has his own podcast show. It's called the 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast. So check out Robbie Schneider. He's on Instagram. He's also on Twitter X, and he's got his own podcast show. Robbie Schneider's podcast is called 716 Sports Blizzard Podcast. It's out of Buffalo, New York. Robbie's a big sports fan, and I'm going to be on Robbie's show very soon on Friday, July 5th at 8:15 p.m. I'm going to be a special guest on his show. So check out 716 Sports Blizzard podcast. Shout out to Robbie Schneider, as well as Nick Small, who is a friend of mine, a season ticket holder with the Argos and co-host of the Argo Bounce live audio show for watching here tonight as well. And that's about it, guys. Before we wrap it up, we have some CFL games this week. And right now, let's see. CFL Week 4 games. We got Edmonton, BC tonight at 10 o'clock on TSN. Montreal, Toronto, Friday night, 7:30. Winnipeg, Calgary, Saturday night. And the Sunday night game at 7 o'clock is the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Ottawa. I've got BC, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Hamilton winning this week. So fingers crossed, we'll see. And I'm off to Buffalo this weekend to do some media coverage of the Buffalo Bisons for CDP Media Productions as well, and hope to get some player interviews and some video footage and some pictures and stuff as well. And that's about it, guys. I want to say thank you to Adam Gosse for coming on my show for a third time. And Adam, again, is the public address announcer for the CFL's Toronto Argonauts at BMO Field. And again, if you've never been to a game there, get down there. Get your tickets at argonauts.ca/tickets. And it's a great facility. And you don't have to drive down there. You can get down there with the GO train, which takes you right to the exhibition grounds. And BMO Field's like 2 minutes from there as well. And that's about it. Robbie, before we wrap this up, how can I get CFL games? Robbie, if you want to watch them, they're on ESPN in the States. They're on ESPN, I believe ESPN 3, and also on CBS Sports, ESPN 3 or CBS Sports line. I believe their games are on there as well. And for CFL news, go to CFL.ca or TSN CFL on TSN.ca. As well. So just Google CFL, lots of things will come up. But in the States, it's usually on ESPN3 or CBS Sports Network, the CBS Sports Network as well. Again, that's about it. I want to say thank you to everyone watching this live streamed and also on audio, and to my audience on WQEE 99.1 FM. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll see you back here Friday night, 6 o'clock with Scott Crawford from the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.